how does the observance and celebration of Christmas differ in different cultures around the world? Because it
Well,
obviously is spread all over.
yeah, it's amazing the differences. Sometimes it can be extremely pious, very much centered on the cradle.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's centered on sociability, on getting as many family members back together. There's that sense of homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
In places like Japan, it's almost like Valentine's Day. It's a romantic
Wow.
holiday. It's
Oh,
time
okay.
to buy your sweetie some roses and take her to a motel. So it varies from country to country. The food is different. The customs are different. The superstitions are different.
Mm-hmm.
The predictions about the weather are
Yeah.
different.
And expectations
Yeah,
about snow and that kind of thing.
sure. Yeah, a green Christmas means a full churchyard. Is a popular one, meaning if it's green at Christmas, there's going to be a lot of dead people in the spring.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, a bit more of a morbid tradition there.
yeah.
What traditions do you find the most interesting, or what are some of the ones that people? You mentioned Japan, but are there any that stick out to you as like very unique
Oh,
celebrations?
every country has just a mind-blowingly crazy Christmas custom. Here's one from Canada. A group of people will come to your door and sing a song that threatens to torture your oldest daughter if you don't give them food.
Wow, and
That's called,
that's a common occurrence.
it's in Quebec. It's an old
Okay.
French medieval custom that spread to Quebec and Louisiana. And it used to be one of a traditional begging song because Christmas was the great time for groups, marginal groups like old women or children,
Mm-hmm.
to go begging. And so what they do in Quebec now is sing that medieval threatening song,
Wow.
but it's a food drive for charity. So they'll
Mm.
collect cans of food and give it to food banks. So that's
Yeah.
one from Canada. There's ones about werewolves. Um, in in Sweden, they construct giant straw goats and
Mm.
keep them from being burnt, but usually arsonists manage to get to them and burn down giant
Of
straw
course.
goats.
Yeah, it's too tempting.
Um, there's a great one in Venezuela where you kidnap the baby Jesus. You steal the baby Jesus out of the nativity scene.
Hmm.
If your neighbor hasn't stood up the baby Jesus by January 6th. So
Okay.
if you go to your neighbor's house and you see in the nativity scene the baby Jesus is still lying down on January 6th, you can kidnap him, take him to your house, and the owners then have to get a party together. They get a young couple with a basket to imitate Joseph and Mary, and you get a band, and you go in a procession to the kidnapper's house to recover
Wow.
the baby Jesus, and everybody has a party.
That's incredible.
Anyway,
I've
yeah.
never heard anything like that.
Well,
That's
sure. Wonderful stuff.
I remember my German teacher in school, telling me. I think it was the name was Ruprecht, but like a German kind of
Connect Ruprecht. Yeah.
yeah, like negative Santa Claus kind of thing. That was like the anti Santa that
He
came for
can
bad
be.
kids.
Yeah. Yeah. He's one of those, what I call scary helpers.
Hmm.
When St. Nicholas, for centuries, was the original magical Christmas gift bringer.
Mm-hmm.
But in the 1500s, the Protestant Reformation abolished the cult of saints. So St. Nicholas had to go. But they didn't want to lose the Christmas gift giving to children.
Mm.
So they replaced St. Nicholas with the Christ child, Das Christkindl. The problem with the Christ child as a gift bringer was he couldn't frighten kids into good behavior the way St. Nicholas could, because St. Nicholas would often come to your house and wallop the bejabbers out of you if you hadn't learned your catechism or if you'd been a bad kid. And the baby Jesus can't carry gifts. So the Christkindl, the Christ child, morphed into a young girl dressed in white. She would represent the Christ child and always be accompanied by a scary helper that would do the frightening and the carrying.
Mm.
Very often they had names that harken back to St. Nicholas, like Pelznickel, which is Nicholas in furs, or Aschenklaus, Nicholas smeared with ashes. And they would be the ones carrying the whip or carrying the chains and the basket. And Knecht Ruprecht, servant Ruprecht, was one of these. Sometimes he's gentle, sometimes he's pretty scary. It depends on the myth at the time.
Yeah, that's
the really scary looking guy comes from Austria. That's Krampus. He's the one that looks almost exactly like the devil, and he's a favorite.
Yeah, I think there's a movie about him. I think, or some kind of movie. I think they made years ago, a horror movie.
Yeah, the Krampus craze has caught on. They're having Krampuslauf, Krampus runs in San Francisco. It's spreading across the states. It's getting a bit out of hand.
Yeah, it seems a little
in Austria,
emblematic.
they're kind of there's traditions of lines you don't cross. You can be scary, but not that scary.